very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. I'm Jeffrey. It's always a brand new day. Looks like there's a fog, right? Good morning, guys.
Yeah, it's the morning, hazy morning after a rainy Sunday. Wherever you're watching us from, we're up bright and early, and it's your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. It's the 24th of August, 2026. Welcome. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Bukola and Jeff. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you indeed for joining us here on the program. Again, we're live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. I am Kelly Egiga.
I'm very happy, guys, that the conversation around whether or not subsidy should come back is not over. And we're going to do our very best to keep it in the front burner because it's a serious issue. Everybody has gone to town to do their own research about, about how to defend their position.
Yeah.
The APC, for instance, is putting together literally an avalanche of a team as its presidential campaign council led by the chairman. I've never seen it in my life. The president is the chairman of the campaign council. The DG, Abdulaziz Yari, and then about 5 spokespersons. We're going to look at all the numbers. But what is worrying for me, I don't know, it may not be legal, but I think it's morally a bit reckless for me to have Zach Adediji in that campaign council, who is the NRS boss. I think in some of these things, the optics doesn't look good. Now, I can't say whether it's illegal for the NRS boss to be in that committee, but to have somebody at that level. And there are certain persons I don't expect to be in a campaign council, but you know, with politicians, anything can happen. So I have to do my own research. But the moral optics doesn't look good, and this government and moral optics has been a lot of challenge with greater sense of respect. So, but they've chosen to do what they've done. So Bukola and Kelly, we're still in the argument around whether or not I've had all kinds of conversations about this subsidy matter. But the other part, again, one other angle that we're not looking at is everybody has their own strong point. Yeah. Is the part of the exchange rate. I told you at the very start of this conversation early enough that we're having a conversation around subsidy simply because we floated our naira, and then our exchange rate, is $1 to something 1.413. If for any magical economic manifestation, let me use a spiritual word, is able to be managed, that we even have the naira to dollar somewhere around maybe 700, 800. The price of PMS petroleum product would naturally crash because it's the highest cost component. So that plays a key role. And the federal government has some good buffer in terms of our reserve, $52 billion, at least the gross. So whether we're attending to our LC's letters of credit, where the debt servicing, or we're trying to defend the naira, because I believe the naira is still being defended, by the way, though they call it a managed float. In fact, I think the vice president had mentioned some time ago that the naira would have appreciated better if not that maybe the central bank intervened. I think the NEC had a conversation. So what that simply means in English, because that's what I break it down, is that we have used our instrument, like our bonds and our treasury bills, to be able to attract FPI. So now we have a lot of dollars coming in. Capital importation the other time was about $10 billion. If we allowed the naira to really combat against the dollar, we would have appreciated a lot better, such that the price of this product would have been slightly lesser or significantly lesser, if you will. But the argument the government will always have, two-pronged argument, is that if they allow the dollar to naira to be about 1,000, two things will happen. Their obligation, at least the subnational, is in naira. So that means they will have lesser naira when they convert dollar to naira. You get the point? When customs and all these people bring in dollars, to be lesser. And that's on one hand. And then two, because our interest rate is high, our interest rate is quite high, and then the naira to dollar is where it is, some of the monies we are getting in terms of inflows to buy instruments may not come as much. But on the flip side is the fact that if you allow it to appreciate, we'll buy petroleum products a lot cheaper. That's why the argument is a valid argument from Atiku, and there's also a valid argument from Bola Tinubu. So we have to look at all these things. It's at least Atiku's politics is now to the fact that it's not benefiting the poor. How can we make it benefit the poor? Because if the argument is about smuggling outside the country, trust me, they still smuggle petroleum product outside the country from the reports we get.
Yeah.
Because petroleum product around our country is more expensive than what we have right in the country. So it's an ongoing conversation. So whoever can bring the best out of it, you also look at investors' confidence, and well, I don't want to go to that, guys.
It would be repetitive, to go through all of the
I just try to touch everything.
For and again. But I did listen to, Mr. Atiku's spokesperson yesterday, and he put up, a very strong argument, and he did well to articulate Mr. Atiku's position on, the planned subsidy for production. But what we didn't quite hear was how he was going to get the funding, to subsidize that level. But he asked all the right questions, from, why we're still borrowing, even though we're saving trillions of naira on subsidy. And he also asked, how important it is for us to also look at, the former regime of subsidy, and the corruption that trailed it. So all of the right questions were asked, but how is going to get funding, especially with the borrowing of our crude to get money. That also wasn't quite captured in the presentation of the Minister of Finance, and we did interrogate all of those figures that was presented by the government last week. And so the arguments are neither here nor there, but they all border on accountability in terms of the management of public financing as it is right now, and also how to increase crude oil production to levels where we're able to sufficiently fund domestic production, if it is going to be subsidy for production, such that the refining companies, the major refining companies, and all the other modular refineries can get crude oil at a reasonably reduced price, such that it can have impact on what you and I buy at the petrol stations. And so the arguments continue, the debate continues, but it is very, very trite at this point in time whether we're going to go back, whether we're going forward to firm up public financing and ensure that through the subnationals that are now getting increased funding due to subsidy savings, will ensure that those dividends get to the grassroots. Also, Nigerians continue to look at, listen to those arguments and make up their minds who they want to go with in 2027. But we also heard the presidential candidate of the NDC speak to Nigerians and, articulated his plans to go with, ensuring we move from consumption to production. What we did hear, much of during in 2023 when he campaigned for the presidency as well. And so the debate on how to transform Nigeria's economy continues. Kelly.
Yeah, well, first, the APC Presidential Campaign Council, it's a huge amount of persons all put together. I hope they will not have some sort of clash or clashes, because I'm wondering how they're going to function. I'm just wondering how on earth are they going to function, because I see a lot of big names there, big egos as well. Big, so long as politics is concerned, very, very big egos. So I'm wondering, I'm not going to mention names, but I'm wondering how these people are going to work together.
Yes, mention names.
So, but then again, like Jeff mentioned earlier, the name of the NRS boss is one that is generating a lot of concern. Zach Adeliji. Then there's also Ngozi Olejeme, and of course the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Dr. Betta Edu, who I think
is she in the campaign council?
She is.
Why is she in the campaign council?
She is there, and that's why the Nigerians are.
I didn't see that part.
She's there.
So she's.
Well, she hasn't quite disappeared from public, consciousness.
Let me allow Kelly laugh.
It's a
long list.
It's a long list. The initial list I saw, I didn't see her name and Ngozi's name as well. But when I saw another list, and I realized that Dr. Betta Edu is there, and Ngozi Ojeleme and all.
Who is Ngozi Ojeleme?
Ngozi, I think she also has some sort of question marks. I'm not sure exactly the office she held, but she has some sort of question marks around allegations of corruption as well. And that's why this takes me back to, I think, some months back when we were calling for the reports about Betta Edu to be released, so that Nigerians will know the end to that case and perhaps have some sort of closure or answers. We didn't get that, and now she's in that list. I know the APC needs her because Better Edu is someone that knows how to mobilize. She's fantastic. If you see her when she's at the campaign, she's energetic. So she knows her onions when it has to do with those campaigns. So I know the APC needs her, but it's bringing some sort of I'm not sure the word to use now for the APC. So I think it's important that we get some sort of clarity about the reports involving Ngozi and Dr. Betta, so that Nigerians, so that this does not cost the APC in the long run. Look, you cannot keep and I don't know if this is all is fair in politics, which Mr. President told us a few months ago. I mean, I don't know, but that's the concern for many Nigerians. Those three names, Zach Adedeji, Dr. Betta Edu, and Ngozi Olejemi.
So I will say two things on the Betta part. I've known Betta for a long time. Super proud of the young lady. She's attained political heights at a very young age, and so we're super proud of young people being in government. But I think she has to be careful. I don't think it's good optics for her and good optics for this government. Let's be clear. Somebody was removed from office. This young lady, very passionate, pursues her path in terms of the job she was given. Everybody knows her name, literally. And then there were allegations of corruption. And then you removed her from office by suspension and said she's no longer coming back. And then she was off the radar. And then suddenly you want to bring her in. What are you going to explain to Nigerians about her? Like, did she steal the country's money? If she stole, she should go to court and face justice. If she did not steal money, provide a report and clear her name.
Yes.
This backdoor arrangement is not good for her. So let's assume that the APC wins the election tomorrow. There will be compensation somewhere. Appointments, including ministerial and other appointment. How would the federal government explain to Nigerians our position?
Well,
it doesn't make sense. So I think again. Sorry, Bukola. I think again. It's not for her. Politicians can use it to do anything. It's up to you to fight your cause. I don't think it's wise for her to come in through this way. I wanted to mention the second part of your conversation before I jump in. It's the fact that when people are talking about funding subsidy, government really doesn't put his hands in the coffers of our treasury to fund subsidy. It doesn't work like that. We have an NPCL that was doing what they call the under recovery. So if for any reason you want to bring in subsidy, it's going to be less money for the federation to be able to meet their obligation. That is how it impacts. I just needed that clarity. Because when people talk about funding, it feels like there's some money somewhere, federal government will pack and say, how much are we giving? No, it doesn't work like that. There's swap deal. That they used to do this swap DSDP. There's also the under record. All of this was done by the NNPC, by the way. So
but in the former regime, how did the marketers get money to import petrol?
That's what I'm saying now. There's an arrangement with the, NNPC paid on, in fact, federal government said they are even owning NNPCL. It's part of those under recoveries that NNPCL has to do to take on the cost. The implication is that the money they are supposed to remit to you as federal government, you're not going to get it. So if they were supposed to remit 1,000 naira, if they are paying subsidy, it will not be 15 naira.
Somewhere.
Yes, it will be. So when we say the way people who funding is like it's going to be budgeted to say, do you understand? That's the explanation.
About the presence of certain names in the presidential campaign that has now been constituted. This is not to endorse the presence of persons who have moral baggage in the government, either in appointive or elective capacities. But Jeffrey, I want to remind you of your point, which you consistently emphasize, that we shouldn't expect too much from politicians, that we should drop our expectations as far as morality is concerned, that there is certainly no morality in this game. I'd like to remind you guys that there are a number of officials in the administration either waiting to get elected, who have now emerged candidates at the polls ahead of 2027 polls, and may inevitably be elected, but who have one form of baggage or the other. Either they were investigated by the EFCC and we're no longer hearing anything about those investigations. So what do you expect from such administration when you see names that have question mark in the Presidential Campaign Council. I think we're just going to yawn and turn over to the other side of the bed and say, you know what, this is the character of our politics, and unless there is a re-engineering by a demonstration of inspirational leadership, we are going to continue to have this form of conversations as far as that is concerned. And so you are going to be seeing those names at the rallies ahead of 2027.
Let me help Bukola and Kelly. Bet I do. She has her own baggage. Not sorted, at least we don't have records of that clearance. Ifeanyi Okowa is even the worst. The former governor of Delta. 1.something trillion, allegedly, of course. He's not been found guilty. The lion himself, the white lion.
Yeah, the one mentioning names. I didn't want to mention names. I didn't want to mention names.
These are public information.
I think remember some weeks ago, UFCC invited Okowa there.
Bello, Ifeanyi Okowa, these are the ones we can quickly remember. Perhaps if we look at the list again, we're going to see more names. So for them,
there are names of those whose investigations from way back were not quite conclusive, and they're in the administration.
So the question is, the argument, of course, you presumed innocent until you're proven guilty. So to that extent, they've not been criminally convicted by any court of competent jurisdiction. But we're saying that if you have that level of high moral burden on you in terms of investigation, the honorable thing sometimes just to, stay off a bit, clear your name, expedited hearing, whatever it is, and get it done. And then we have now added our sister Better to the long list. But, well, Bukola, thank you for reminding me that my expectations for politicians should be zero. They are distinguished politicians, let me put, before the ones I respect think I don't respect them. So there are people that have proven themselves to be exceptional, but they are very few. But generally, if you go by the name of a politician, my expectation goes from 100 to 0, then you have to build up by, your performance. But we'll take a break.
Yeah, good way to start the week.
The week that will be sweet. We'll discuss about it. You know how they say that thing? Weekend will be sweet. Now Wednesday they start. This week it's gonna be interesting. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Yes, indeed, it promises to be a great week following the stories that have emerged over the weekend, and the papers are already giving us a potpourri of insights as far as the many different issues are concerned. And joining us now is Mr. Dayo Akitobi, journalist and public affairs analyst. Mr. Dayo, I'm sure that you're just as excited as we are, and of course you're always excited on Mondays anyway. So it's TGIM.
I'm all the more excited this week because we're having 2 Mondays. We have Monday today and we'll have Monday on Wednesday because tomorrow is a break.
Well, we don't get excited when there's public because we're here.
Well, for me the thing is tomorrow everything shuts down, no revenue generation. So then when we start up on Wednesday again, I start earning money again. So it's 2 Mondays for me this week. I'm pleased. I'm elated.
Okay.
The way you talk about this revenue, we need to tax you. The LRS.
Don't let Mr. Adede to come after me.
He's going to be busy campaigning.
He's distracted by the campaign.
And that's the reason why we're saying it should not be on that list. Maybe we should put it there. Okay, let me speak for myself. It should not be on that list. There's a lot of revenue challenge we have as a country. Putting him as a fundraising committee, whatever it is, take the guy out of that list. There's a lot of governance issue. Even the president wants to be busy with his own campaign as well as chairman. We can understand that he's looking for re-election. But the gentleman has work to do. We need money.
But a little bit more.
And why will he be raising
record numbers? No, we
beyond all of those concerns, where will he be raising the monies for the campaign from?
I mean,
so why do you have an NRS boss?
The person in charge of the money of the country.
Okay, so let's start with the Guardian newspaper this morning, and it begins with, well, it focuses on the issues of revenue as well. 14 years after Orosai report, bloated agencies cost Nigeria 1 trillion naira in 2026. Take us down memory lane, Mr. Akitobi. I'm sure you remember when the administration came up with the information that they were going to begin implementation of the Orosai report, and certain agencies were going to have to, go, but those agencies remain.
let's first go back
2 years down the line.
Let's go back in time and remind viewers what the Oronsai report is to begin with. It was a report commissioned about 14 years ago in terms of trying to see how to streamline government in a way that will reduce its size, reduce its overhead, make it more efficient, make it smaller, make it more nimble. And the report has been gathering dust for years. Administration after administration kept saying, okay, it is a good plan. Nobody has ever criticized it as not being beneficial to the country. But the political will to implement it from one administration to the next is just gathered dust on the shelves. So when the Tinubu administration came in, they promised to take a look at it. The president actually promised to implement it. He set up a committee to look at how to implement it, and he gave them a timeline within which to come back with a report about how to implement the Oronsai report. Well, here we are 3 years later, and as opposed to what the Oronsai report recommends, this administration has actually done the opposite. As opposed to merging MDAs, scrapping some, consolidating some, taking the functions of some and putting into others, what has actually happened is more ministries have been created, more departments and more agencies, thereby bloating government even more and creating greater government expenditure. Look, for example, I'll give you an example. Look at Melfund. It's a new agency. It's a new department. It's very well needed. It's doing a good function. But by virtue of the fact that it was created as a totally new bureaucracy, it has its own staffing, it has its own running costs, it has its own salaries, all those kind of things add to government expenditure. Whereas some people argue that Melfund could have been created as an arm of the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Education, or a relevant ministry to what it does, that it didn't have to come to life despite its usefulness as an independent agency that's going to be more of a drain on government coffers. Now, the reason for this problem is that when you look at the entire FAC allocation, all the money that comes into the coffers of the government, by the time you look at what government spends on maintaining itself, what is left for them to use for the benefit of the rest of the country is infinitesimal. We're talking about infrastructure, social welfare, education, health, roads, security. What is left from the total sum of revenue, whether it's taxation, oil sales, duties at the ports, when you aggregate all of it together and you separate what government takes to run itself, I'm not talking about anything developmental, just to run itself, running costs at the 3 levels, it's a humongous proportion of the sum total of revenue we get. So what the country should be looking at this point in time is how to reduce the size of government so that we can reduce its spending, so that there's more to spend on the people.
And it's a question about the curious nature of our federalism.
Yes.
Because we should also be asking the Minister of Finance how much we would be saving had we at the federation or the federal arm of government at that level had less to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. Yes, we should have. And the bottom line is that when you look at the structure, whereby the federal government is taking the lion's share, the states, then the local governments, and each and every one of them has responsibilities. But by the time they individually amortize their running cost, what is left for each of them? And you know that each of the tiers has their own responsibilities. Local government does primary healthcare centers, they do environmental stuff, the state does things like waste management. So each one has its responsibilities. But my argument is that by the time they sort out what each of them uses to run itself, there's not enough left. But in terms of the structure, if we're talking about a situation like we used to have in the 60s, where each state or region was responsible for its own resources, right, and was able to marshal its own attributes and deploy them to the benefits of its own citizens, we probably have a better structured situation whereby the costs are a little more streamlined than this federal contraption we are currently running.
All right, Mr. Kijobe, let's switch gears to the Vanguard newspaper because it stays with Nigeria's economy. It says Nigeria's oil output drops by 20.8% in 10 years. Nigeria's oil output drops by 20.8% in 10 years. Nigeria's influence with OPEC Plus declines. We are committed to optimizing output. Renaissance says bad omen requiring urgent steps. Expert So that's the Vanguard newspaper this morning, speaking about Nigeria's oil output dropping by 20.8% in 10 years. Mr. Kijobe.
That's quite a humongous percentage, and it's worrisome because you go back to the Yaradua days. The whole purpose of his amnesty, which generally has been regarded as having been highly successful, was to reduce to barely nothing oil losses in terms of how much we actually bring out of the ground. When we're looking at 20% over a decade-long period, it represents opportunities missed. Because remember, the resource is already in the ground. God created it. It's already there in almost an infinite supply. So each passing day that goes that you don't bring as much as you can up, it's a lost opportunity. Yes, you say tomorrow we'll make up for it, but you can't make up for what you missed collecting yesterday. Tomorrow's one is what you are collecting tomorrow. Yesterday's one is gone forever. So you look at it and you ask yourself, what is the cause of this shut-in for 20% of what already exists in the ground, and the technology to bring it up and the joint venture partners, all of those already exist? Why is it a problem to be able to maximize the output? And there are various factors. I mean, I know that, militancy was a big factor quite a while back. Insecurity was a factor. Force majeure being declared was a factor. Community issues when, they would protest against, the IOCs was a big problem. But these are all resolvable. I think we should be so focused on the fact that we have this God-given resource that didn't cost us anything, that God just benevolently, endowed us with, and is there for exploitation. Nothing stops it from being fully exploited, to the point of even pull out of OPEC and forget OPEC quotas, and bring up as much as you can, convert the money to the benefit of the citizens. So it's worrisome that 20% can go unexploited in a decade long, because that's a loss to Nigerian people. That 20% could be converted to social services, social welfare programs, better infrastructure, roads, bridges, renewable energy, all of the things that today occupy the political space, renewable energy, issues of climate change, potable water, things like that. Each time we lose an opportunity to get more revenue, it is a bigger loss to the individual Nigerian.
Let's go to this Nigeria newspaper. This Nigeria, it's akin to be one of the things we do with our budgeting system is overestimation. Overestimation. But this Nigeria, maybe we'll go away from that and go to Nigerian Tribune. Okay. Presidential Campaign Council, ADC leaders in battle of wits. Page 22, read on that as well. And the page, I think there's a page, yeah, I've seen it. Just beneath that picture, you see Tinubu will earn a fresh mandate in 2027. That's a DG of the campaign council declares. That's Abdulaziz Yari. What did you expect him to say? Even though some northerners are kicking, I saw a report, someone said, NRS boss, Yoruba, customs, Yoruba,
finance minister,
CDS, Yoruba finance minister, CBN governor. There's another position again. EFCC, IGP, DSS. So now when it comes to your campaign, now brought in the northern politics. What do you make of the story about it?
Well, the guy has to justify his existence. So what else do you expect him to say beyond the fact that President Tinubu will be re-elected hands down? Well, that's left to the Nigerian people. I read a tracking survey recently that said 90% of those surveyed, and this survey sample was big enough to be representative. They said 90% of Nigerians surveyed believe the country is heading in the wrong direction in terms of the economy and insecurity. What that says to me is that the president has a very big job to do to run on his performance as a basis for his re-election. So they had their work cut out for them, including the president of his DG, the DG of his campaign council. They have a major job at hand. The one thing they have going for them at the moment is the fact that the opposition is splintered. So that in and of itself stands them in good stead. But as we saw in Osho State, it's the will of the people that will prevail eventually. So if enough people, if that 90% figure is accurate, that's a major indictment. If it is accurate, if 90% of the people really believe that the country is heading in the wrong direction, then they have an uphill task to turn around that perception. And in this day and age, perception is reality.
Let me remind you about the words of the president. All his friend politics, the words of the FCC minister.
I don't think
we are going to use the federal might.
I don't think we should be using that statement. That was not a good statement from the president. I don't think he should ever repeat what he said.
Someone would argue that it's set the stage for what we saw in the Osho election.
We're not even asking him to retract it. The president should never have said that. If you know what that means in the context of what it means and what it meant when it was said that all is fair in war, you cannot use it all is fair in politics. Out of respect for the president, I'm not going to say it as it is in my head, but it's a statement that should not be made.
And we hope we don't hear it anymore in our political orientation.
Let him just respond to that, because I mean, for me, those words, the issue of federal might, you know, well, Wiki is not on this list, by the way.
No, he says he's not going to be there. Wiki doesn't like losing. He doesn't want to lose any state. He's focused on his rivers and Abuja.
Yeah, I think the campaign council has work cut out for them, like I said. The president's statement has basically thrown down the gauntlet. I said, hey, game on. Let's go for it, you know. And so it's going to be a competitive contest without a doubt. The president, the administration has got its record to run on, just like every incumbent does. So you sink or swim. You can't have run a bad race and then start promising that, sorry, I didn't do well in the first 4 years, so trust me to do well for you in the next 4 years. So incumbents are in a tricky position based on their performance. So it's an issue of how do Nigerians perceive what the current administration has done in the last 3 years, 3.5 years before they go to the election? Well, I would say the jury is out at the end of the day. Politics will play a major role in how this plays out, because there are situations where you see unpopular, unpopular policies, unpopular administrations, unwelcome policies, and they still manage to win. So it's not about performance alone. Sometimes it's about marketing. It's about the ability to sell yourself. It's about the ability to galvanize your troops and your supporters. So there's a lot more to winning an election than just your performance in office or public perception. Everybody in the country will not like you, and you still find a way to win.
Ms. Akitobi, we're going to go to another part of that paper, because we have a bit more time. So, article subsidy removal proposal, May election season declaration. That's according to the chairman.
Yes.
Articles, I won't back down my decision to restore subsidy. I think what the issue, my analysis in my head, the APC should be more worried about the disgruntled element in their party than those who have outrightly said. Now, I just wanted to Bukola.
Yes.
Yeah, so from there, let's go to the New Telegraph newspaper that, departs from all the other conversations about politics and Nigeria's oil output and all the other financing related stories. This came through over the weekend as well. Donald Duke, Thabo Mbeki told Nigeria could face a coup over Obasanjo's second-term bid. And there's just one rider there. Nigeria would have been a different place if Yar'Adua hadn't died. That's another insight coming from, one of the leaders in the opposition, ADC, Professor Pat Utomi. I've also been reading that Mr. Duke has been speaking a lot lately, rebuking Mr. President for starting the Lagos-Calabar coastal project from VI instead of from Badagry, where he believes that, is Lagos's starting point. So I'd like you to respond to all of these issues, particularly what value does this insight into the, Obasanjo government bring into politics today?
Well, that's, I haven't read the story, but thinking about what he's trying to say and having listened to Donald Duke quite a bit recently, he's trying to stand himself out as a different character when it comes to all those who are presenting themselves for office. And he's tripped down memory lane, for example, when he says things like, if Yar'Adua had lived, Nigeria would have been a different country.
That's
crazy to
by the way.
Prof Utomi. I also look at people who say that if Muritala had lived, Nigeria would have been a different country. So there's a lot of ifs, but if wishes were horses, you know.
Yes, right.
Exactly. So the issue is, for me, I think President Obasanjo had issues with trying to win a second term. I don't know if they had some internal agreement between them that, you know, he would only run one term and he would allow somebody else to do the second term. I don't know. But I do remember hearing stories about how difficult it was for him to get the ticket for the second term, to the point that there were some derogatory allegations that he actually prostrated to his deputy to back down and allow him to go for a second term. In terms of Babu and Becky talking about a coup, I have no knowledge about that whatsoever, and I really can't comment on it because I do know that he had a tough time getting his second term. Now, in terms of Donald Duke, he's first of all been a governor for 8 years. He's been out of the political space for some time, but it's not his first run at the presidency. I think he's done it once or twice in the past, and he's always tried to position himself as an intellectual, which I'm aware. I think he's a lawyer. He went to Ahmadu Bello University. He's got a good solid pedigree, so he's always tried to put himself high and above politics and speak more intellectually about, you know, the issues of the day than about the personalities. So if he's here talking about things like the coastal road, I remember the coastal road is going to Calabar, which was the capital of the state he governed. So he's got a vested interest. It's the capital of the state where he's coming from. You know, he's not out and out saying the coastal road is a misnomer and shouldn't have been done, but he's just saying the way it was done. And then he complains about the way it was done, Kelly, including the fact about environmental impact assessment, about competitive bidding for the contract, you know, about the compensation that was paid to all the communities that were destroyed. So there's a big issue with that coastal road, and I really pray that since so much has been thrown at it already, that it does come to fruition eventually.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kintobi. We need that road.
He's saying, pardon me, Kelly, that if he had begun from Badagry, that there would have been no need for any sand filling. But I'm wondering that if it began from Badagry, wouldn't it still pass through Victoria Island and there would be sand filling? Perhaps, you know, the engineers should talk to us about that one, and such that we'll know whether we wouldn't have wasted the trillions of naira that has gone already into sand filling and then, you know, the project itself.
Right. It's not a waste. That road will come to pass.
Kelly, you have an interest.
I do. All right, but let's just touch on the Abuja inquiry before we leave. Benue professionals tell FG no ranching. That's the Abuja inquiry. Benue professionals tell FG no ranching. Wants 3 million IDPs back to ancestral homes. Bandits kidnap Kwara monarch's wife. Demand 20 million naira to free woman. Briefly, please.
This issue of IDPs, I think, is very understated and almost, you know, relegated to the back of our consciousnesses. But it's really a major problem. I've seen videos and I've seen documentaries about this IDP crisis. And when you look at the sheer quantum of people who are dislocated from their ancestral homes, their villages, and who are living in squalid conditions, in tents, you know, with little children, who are malnourished, and, you know, the shelter is poor, and they are all herded together in a very small space, like, you know, they're in a tin of sardines or something. You know, it's a crying shame, really, and I think it's a humanitarian crisis that really needs to be addressed. We talk about people that have been kidnapped, and it's in the news about how to get them back, but this issue of IDPs, and it's been with us for a long time, it's not recent, but I think scant attention is being paid to it because the humanitarian agencies, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, they're all trying to provide aid. But I think the more important thing is, how do we get them back? How do we resolve the insecurity issues and the other issues that drove them from their settlements, from their normal way of daily life? I'm trying to imagine myself dislocated and, you know, uprooted, and, you know, completely, everything just completely scattered, to where I find myself somewhere where I'm not familiar with. I'm in uncertain conditions. I don't know what tomorrow holds. It's a really disruptive way to one's daily existence. And my heart goes out to all those people. And I wish governments would pay more attention to this. We don't talk enough about the IDPs. It's really a crisis. Now, in terms of this no ranching, look, when it comes to the issue of livestock, ranching is the way it's done globally, whereby to avoid all these farmer-herder clashes and things, they generally have places where they corral them, and there's enough for them to feed on, there's enough water, there's all that, but they don't have the freedom. I mean, the ranches generally are hundreds of thousands of acres anyway, so they have plenty of space to roam. I think in Nigeria the issue is ownership of the ranches, the financing. Do you give it to them free? Are they supposed to invest and buy the land? Do they rent the land? I think that's where the disgruntlement came about, was the fact that one set of people felt like the state should allocate the land to them free. And other people said, but they're running a business like I'm running a business. Government doesn't give me a subvention for doing my business. Why should you give them land for free? But I don't think the argument is that ranches are bad in and of themselves, because the ranches do curtail the excesses of the herds. They don't allow them to roam freely. You don't see them on the street. You don't see them rampaging and pillaging innocent farmers' crops and things like that. So they are circumscribed within a defined area. So in and of itself, I don't think that's bad. I think in most modern agribusiness, ranching is the way it is done. But the issues in Nigeria, which is a very peculiar setup kind of political structure, I think the issues are more than just having them in one place and making sure that they don't violate the rights of other people.
And issues are as complex as they are, compelling to continue to discuss. I understand the professionals, the Benue people have lost a lot of their land already, and going the way of ranching would mean more land to those who they're engaging. But clearly it's an ongoing conversation. We must thank you very much, Mr. Dayo Akitobi, journalist and public affairs analyst, for coming on the show. TGIM. TGIM. We'll take a moment now. There's so many places to touch today, beginning with that Presidential Campaign Council. So many questions, and the heat is turned on. But we'll go to other levels as well. We'll be also looking at the presence of, or the discovery, if you like, of another fake agency as the federal government continues its investigation. So stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. So again, 2 fake agencies have been discovered or uncovered by the ICPC under the President Bola Tinubu's government. This is not the PFIPC. We are talking 2 more fake agencies. The names: the National Brands Development and Made in Nigeria Special Project Office. But what makes this really very interesting is the fact that these agencies we hear were operating somewhere at the office of the SGF. Let's unpack all of this with one man who tracks issues around corruption. Awal Rafsanjani is the Executive Director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center. Since like he joins us live on the program virtually. Thank you indeed, Mr. Rafsanjani, for agreeing to talk to us here on the program this morning.
Thank you, and good morning.
I wonder how what is interesting about this discovery to you. For me personally, is the fact that these agencies we hear operated somewhere around the premises of where the Secretary to the Government of the Federation is, George Akume. How possible is that?
Oh, thank you very much. This issue ordinarily should have been something that Nigerians should be surprised about. But when you see democratization of corruption and bad governance, and responsible governance generally in Nigeria at all levels, then you will not be surprised to hear this kind of thing. But this is really a very disturbing thing, and it's not a simple issue that will be treated as just misconduct. It is a fundamental, issue and caution about the integrity of Nigerian public institutions, and that something fundamentally must be done in order to restore confidence, in order to ensure that Nigeria, its integrity, even in the international community, is restored. So we should not just see this as an individual, who conducted or misbehaved. No, rather, it is a serious compromise of our institutions that beats every imagination or system. From looking at it from people who facilitated having the office, people who facilitated getting these tech agencies into our federal budget, people who probably are benefiting, because there must be public and officials who are equally benefiting from this kind of thing. So investigation must lead to something more serious. We commend ICPC for bringing in these additional agencies, but then we need to make sure that we carry out investigation, not just like the kind of investigation National Assembly was focusing on individual, but we should focus on our institutions, collaborators, enablers, people who contributed towards having this embarrassment to our country. So for us, we think that this investigation must also lead to taking complete and comprehensive audit of federal government agencies, so that Nigerians will know which agency is legitimate and which agency is fake. Secondly, this investigation must also lead to recovering all the money and assets these so-called agencies possess. Number three, this investigation must ensure that that facilitated opening of the bank accounts, they must be investigated and necessary action be taken on them. Again, the report of ICPC must also be made public with its recommendation. And if we are able to do that, it is possible that government can begin the process of healing this serious damage. Because if government do cover off, you will not restore that confidence in both Nigerians and the international community. So it is not about party affiliation or supporters of the president, but it is about the country integrity. It is about the system, because international community, foreign diplomats will find it difficult to relate with us straightforward. They will be contemplating whether they are dealing with a dubious, fake, fictitious agency or public official, or they are dealing with the right one. So if government honor and did not do cover of individuals associated to this fraud, I think government would have earned the confidence of Nigerians and international community. But any attempt to cover up, any attempt just to see this as just a way of doing things as usual, you abandon investigation, no action taken against perpetrators, I think that would be very, very extremely difficult for Nigerians and international community to respect us anymore.
Mr. Johnny, I understand that the president has suspended about 3 permanent secretaries. I think somebody was sacked. So to that extent, there has been some action. We also understand that the gentleman in the eye of the storm has also come out to say he has presented a letter of appointment now. So there are so many things that have happened, but I want you to marry that to how this is affecting us. We're still not out of the woods with the AME's case, and now this has added plus the president's FBI files, which is still the court, the FBI had approached the judge to say, look, we cannot disclose the content of this file the way it wants to, the way the persons who wants it disclosed to disclose it. So because it's going to affect our process. So I've read all kinds of things online that the president may still be an active asset. I've read people say his life may be in danger and the life of others may be in danger, all kinds of, inferences for that. So when you combine what the president is doing, because people are saying, what is really in this file that is so encumbered, that this fight back and forth is happening between the American government and the people that want this record out. So if you marry that with all of this that is happening, how should we approach managing our image, and how is this affecting us as we speak today? Because we're about to go into an election.
Like I said, Nigerian government, the official of Nigerian government have a choice. Either to pretend and then do jaga work and move on, and then our image is dented, and Nigerians and international community will not have confidence in our administrative system, or you do a thorough work in order to deal with this matter and also block the potentials of other agencies or individuals. Because you are talking of one before. When ICPC went on, they were able to discover more. And there's no guarantee now, if you continue to investigate, you might find something similar again. Look, National Assembly is given constitutional and legislative responsibility to ensure that they carry out effective and responsible oversight of our governments or governments generally. You wonder what kind of oversight some National Assembly members are going to do, or we are going for. Look, oversight should tells you the legitimacy of even that agency itself if you are not even the one who created it. Because ideally, National Assembly should have all the information, all the data of our agencies, because not only that they do oversight of these agencies, but they also approve their own budget. And for National Assembly to even exonerate itself from this, I think it's a challenge. For me, one of the first things that National Assembly should have done was to even apologize to the nation for two things. One, for the fact that they approved budget of these so-called agencies. Secondly, they have failed during their oversight to discover that these agencies are actually illegitimate agencies. So for me, National Assembly, they must also begin by apologizing to the nation. Secondly, the DG budget must also take responsibility. The head of civil service must also take responsibility. Secretary to the government, where these agencies are even situated, under his care, must also take responsibility. The people in CBN who facilitated opening of these bank accounts, together with the Accountant General, they must also take responsibilities. If you center only on one person, one individual, you do not investigate all the other enablers from various agencies and institutions, there's no way anybody, whether in Nigeria or in abroad, would believe that Nigeria is not doing a cover up, and it will continue to haunt us. So it is better for the president to actually do a more thorough work. In the past, people were suspended and nothing happens. This is an election period. Some people will do everything possible to undermine the justice. So I think it is important that we take this matter very serious. It's not about party affiliation or loyalty to the president. It is a serious breach of our institutional integrity, and that must be taken very seriously if we want anybody to take us serious. Right now, Nigeria and Nigerians are suffering from serious international certification of integrity questioning. If you travel everywhere, including African countries, once you are a Nigerian, the impression they have created, sadly, is that Nigerians are bad people. They have come to do bad things. And I know that many Nigerians are not bad people. Just some reckless or irresponsible behavior of some people in authority and some people who think that because of the impunity, they are above the law. They do whatever they like without being checked. So my own advice to the president, it's good that he has shown, the leadership by suspending these three persons. But I believe that when you go further, you will have discovered that they are more than just three people. Everyone that was involved in this matter must be brought to book. That is how you can establish justice, and that is how you can be able to serve this as a deterrent. But if you do a cover-up, I'm telling you, Nigerians will not take this in with the seriousness that government is supposed to make sure that it has taken. Publish the whole report. Let's show where all these breaches are. Let us show the collaborators. Let us show people who have committed this irresponsible behavior against our country because of money, because of position, because of they just want to, probably satisfy some interest. I think National Assembly, in my opinion, supposed to have gone further from issues of forgery of letter in the case of Adeyemi to actually bringing in all the relevant, individuals and agencies. But from what we have seen, it was like just centered on only one person, and that other people accused or were suspected of this whole scam were left. In fact, as a matter of fact, both government did not even have matters. They began by dismissing and clearing some individuals without even investigation. That is to tell you that already there's a mindset on this issue. So we commend ICPC for going further to figure out these people who are also collecting a lot of salaries.
Pardon me if I may come in there, would it not be too soon to commend the ICPC? Recall that Mr. President ordered the commission to begin investigating the fake agency early last month, and it's been well over a month if you consider that the president gave the ICPC 30 days to come up with its findings, but it hasn't given us any clear direction or information about what exactly happened with the PFIPC. And if that is the case, why should we trust the discovery of another fake agency? Because 3 persons have been arrested, but we find that this agency was operating close to the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. So why should some persons, take the bullet for this, and some others who should be answering questions are not being asked the relevant questions?
Well, that is why I began by saying that we commend them by exposing more agencies. I'm not saying that they have concluded their reports. In fact, I even earlier on mentioned that ICPC report must be published publicly, so that we will see who were the perpetrators, and we will see also their recommendation. If they have not done anything, these additional fake agencies will not have been discovered. So in that context, it is a work in progress. But if they do something good, we should commend that they do something good, so that we can encourage them to do more. We will ensure that we will continue to advocate that no stone is left untouched, because it is going to touch, in fact, it's already touching the integrity of our institutions and our country generally. So that is why every Nigerian should be worried about this development. It's not a development that you can just overlook. We must put all the necessary pressure on the government to make sure that this is not another case of just pardoning. People commit atrocities and you pardon them without any consequences. We will, as civil society, as media, as patriotic Nigerians, we will have to continue to advocate and push for government to do the needful so that our country image can be restored. As it is now, it is extremely difficult for anybody to relate with us without being doubts. Nigerian officials will continue to suffer serious doubts from other counterparts in the world because they don't know exactly who they are relating with. They don't know whether they are relating with a legitimate agency or they are relating with the fake agencies. And for me, if you did not go into the roots proper, it will be extremely difficult just to say that somebody is not, or you cover him or her, and then you decide to zero on just one individual. An individual cannot perpetuate this criminality. There must be enablers and collaborators and supporters and people who benefit either financially or politically from this act. So therefore, they must all of them be exposed. If if ICPC has done its own, ideally expected National Assembly to do that. But what did the Senate say? The Senate said that they are not even investigating anything. And this is part of the problem we have. National Assembly, I keep on emphasizing, must take responsibility of this scam. Because even when it comes to issue of saying, okay, let's even investigate, as constitutionally you are empowered to investigate this kind of thing, the Senate said that they are not even doing anything, which for me raises the question that Nigerians are making, are talking about, whether there's enablers in that place, for these agencies and for National Assembly, Senate in particular, to take this decision that they will not investigate since the executive is investigating. That is the reason why you are there. As a legislative, as a body that is empowered to investigate, interrogate, ensure that government functions, are going very well, and that even the resources you provided to them, you provided them judiciously, and you are supposed to even go to see how you are even providing these resources or how are the policies, are working. All these are part of what oversight is supposed to be. But just to decide that you are not going to do anything, there's no way you can clear the minds of Nigerians that you are not actually benefiting or benefited from this scam. That is why it's not good for the Senate to have taken the position they have taken. For the House of Rep, you could see that what they have done is very limited and targeting just at individuals, trying just to to talk about fake signatory. No, it's more than that. So I expected the House of Rep, being a vibrant chamber, to be able to come up with a more robust, comprehensive investigation, including public hearing, that will enable different stakeholders to come and say what they know or what they think should be done. But you limited it to just even their recommendation. You can see it is just more of like Adeyemi. Yes, Adeyemi is one, but there are several Adeyemi that needed to be investigated, that needed to be dealt with, so that tomorrow people would not be able to commit the same atrocities Adeyemi and his travelers have done. But again, this is also a test of the integrity of the government itself on the anti-corruption work. Because Nigeria, we have been pleading with the President Tinubu to take anti-corruption more serious, more robust. Because people saw lacuna in government. That is why they are doing what they are doing. And when somebody committed, this kind of sin and public outcry comes, they will just take a temporary measure. Like even better, you see that the case has died. All the co-travelers of that, situation that we had, nobody is being touched. So you decide to silence this serious crimes against Nigerian people, against Nigerian government, just because of politics, just because of maybe loyalty. I think it is doing more incredible damage to the president leadership. So for me, I was still plead with Mr. President, take anti-corruption seriously and empower or strengthen the anti-corruption institutions so that they can block more leakages. Because if you give them the necessary political will, without interfering in the work that they are doing in a negative way, I think it will be, it will go a long way. But we did not want the kind of directive that the president has given in the case of Oshun, where he stopped agency that is constitutionally, legally empowered to block, suspicious movement of money, and then, you demoralize them. You make some Nigerians to be even laughing at them. This is not good for our country. Mr. President, we plead with you to take the anti-corruption work very serious so that we can block leakages, so that Nigerians can benefit from democracy and development that they deserve.
Well, clearly, Mr. Rafsanjani, if these allegations are eventually established, then we have a very, very troubling pattern emerging here, so long as institutions are concerned, because we've spent many years talking about issues around corruption, ghost workers, inflated contracts, phantom contracts, in fact, and now we are talking phantom government agencies. And just to put this out there as well, the two fake agencies, I mentioned one earlier, the second one now is, okay, the first one I mentioned, of course, is the National Brands Development and Made in Nigeria Special Projects Office, and then which we hear is headed by Prince George Buchi Nwabweze. I'm not sure, I think we have to be careful now whenever we see anybody that has that tag Prince, because this is also Prince again here. And then I'm looking for the second one now, which has to do with the Foreign Investment Promotion Agency and Public-Private Partnership, which is also the fake agency discovered by the ICPC. Well, most thank you as always. Awal Rafsanjani is the Executive Director. Sislak, thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, from fake phantom or fake government agencies, let's get to talk the APC Presidential Campaign Council. That list has 108 members. But what are your concerns? Let's uncover this, Jeff.
Our guest is Kenny Okolobo. He's a public affairs analyst and member of the APC. Mr. Okolobo, good to see you and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Geoffrey. I thought you were going to have me earlier. So.
Apologies.
Yes.
Matters are rising, but thank you. It's national service. The list is out. The conversation is on a literal avalanche of names and representation. I don't think I saw your name. Maybe you tell me why your name is not there. But besides that, their concerns were raised, and I want to raise two quick concerns. First is the Zach Adedeji's issue. I don't know whether it's illegal. Maybe you have been around the public service one way or the other, either in advisory role or the other. So maybe you can help us whether he's doing anything. It may be prohibitive, but is it illegal? Because I went to check the public service rule number 1004, let me just call the number 100422. No officer shall, without express permission of government, whether on duty or leave of absence, there are so many things said here, engage in canvassing in support of political candidates. Nothing in this rule shall be deemed to prevent an officer from voting an election. Indicates publicly his support of an opposition to any party, candidate, or policy. So it looks like this is against civil service rule. Whether it binds people like Zach or not, we do not know. That's on one leg, because even besides Zach Adedeji, you will see agencies of government going out to support the government that employ them, and it's very funny in Nigeria. So the second part is the persons we're now seeing on the list. I didn't know that because it's a long list. Better I do, the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs is on that list, and she still has issues hanging around her head. The EFCC at least has not cleared her, so we don't know whether she's guilty or not guilty. Maybe you can omnibus this besides your general comment on the list.
Well, let me just say that there's no way you can have everybody on the Presidential Campaign Council. That's certainly a point you must know. Having served in the Presidential Campaign Council before, yes, it's a thing of pride if you're a member of a political party and you're recognized and you become a member of a Presidential Campaign Council. But if you notice, 108 people on that list, and a lot of people have also complained that 108 people are a lot. But looking at what you have said, Zakadidiji is a politician. He's never denied the fact that he's a card-carrying member of the APC. Yes, he can be the chairman of the Nigerian tax board, so to say, but that doesn't stop him from playing politics. It's just like ministers. For you to be a minister, the qualification says that you must be qualified to be able to contest for the House of Reps. And for you to be qualified to be able to contest for the House of Reps, your minimum qualification is school certificate, and you must also be a card-carrying member of a political party. And you don't expect that the president will appoint people who are not card-carrying members of the APC as his ministers. Some will say that, look, it will overburden them because it's going to tell on their job. That is why a lot of ministers are discouraged to be brought in on the campaign council. Some can also, play advisory role. If you look at it, so to say, if I remember when the presidential campaign council, Tafida was the DG, and Rube did most of the work, and it didn't stop him from performing what he was, his performance at our 2011 elections. And I think that's the only elections that Goodluck Jonathan won. So it depends on the perspective you are going to look at it. But there is no campaign council list you're going to bring, Geoffrey, that there will not be complaints. There will certainly be complaints. And that is exactly what it is. So what the Director General has to do, which is the former governor, Yari, is to come to more people and also look for people who can play some more important role. A lot is on his shoulders. And I think he has the capacity to be able to carry on this job, especially being from the Northwest. And having seen that the president lost the Northwest to the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, but did quite well. He won Zamfara. He got about 288,000 votes, if I remember, to Atiku's 193,000 votes in Zamfara. But he lost Kaduna, he lost Katsina. Those are very vital states in this campaign as moving forward. So if you look at it, I think in all generality, the list was quite, we had square pegs in square holes. If you ask me in some other areas, I can talk about it, but it was not one that people will not certainly talk about.
Mr. Kolubo, if you're saying that Mr. Zakadidiji had never denied being a politician, does that preclude Nigerians from asking critical questions about how an NIS boss should also be providing funding functions for a campaign in 2027 where Nigeria has serious public finance concerns? And, add to that the presence of active government officials. The governor of Imo State, the minister of solid minerals, the minister of trade is also on that list. The Zamfara senator, which is from a state that is, seriously charged with issues of security and poverty. So respond to those concerns as far as those names are concerned. First, the boss, NIS boss, and his funding functions for that campaign.
Well, certainly, Nigerians have a right to ask. If you say Nigerians don't have a right to ask, that means you're just trying to shut people up. Yes, in terms of funding, INEC has a job to monitor where funds are being raised. We don't expect that he should be using public funds. No matter what, he should dip his hands into the tilt and start using it for the campaign. There should be checks and balances, which I expect in our tax returns that he's managing. And so, it's a sweeping statement when people just give the impression that, he's going to now have to dip his hand into the till because he's been appointed in that capacity. The president has worked with him. He's also worked with him before now. In fact, the truth about it is that if you had asked me, maybe you would have gotten somebody who would have been able to have a better reach in that capacity. But the president has his reasons for appointing him. Sometimes when you are going to run a campaign, you also have to use your trusted aides. It's very important. I have only just joined the APC, if you want to know. This is the first elections I'm going to be having to join in campaigning for the APC. And I dare say that we'll watch and see how it's going to be run. But I don't think I think it's just too early for those concerns. Then for the DG is from Zamfara. He was not only a former governor of Zamfara, he was the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum. He's a 7th senator. And again, he's also on the ballot some will say, oh, you shouldn't go the way of Senator Lalong that lost Platy by a very wide margin to Peter Obi, and yet he was the DG. But I think this time around, this DG is not one that is going to sit down. You don't sit down. I remember when we were in Sokoto for the campaigns in 2010 and 2011. They sent us ahead of time to feel the pulse of what it was like. We knew we were going to lose Sokoto even before the rally. We reported back and we stayed for the campaigns, and that was putting another dimension to it because we were able to get. We were spokespersons for the campaign, but we're not sitting down in the office. I remember very well that Christian Piofoy chose to speak to me in Sokoto rather than Imani Boro because he said he wanted to hear a different perspective. Even though of course I was grandstanding in that interview, but the intelligence we had, and true to it, the campaign now sat up, and Jonathan was able to make 309,000 votes as against Buhari's 540. It would have been a disaster if some of those intelligence reports didn't come. So in a presidential campaign council, everybody has one role or the other to play. But I looked at that campaign council and a few things, people complained that it was overloaded, but there is no strategy department. There's no department managing the pressure groups. The pressure groups are going to try to outdo each other. They are going to compete. This is the government in power. Everybody wants their name to be somewhere. They want to be seen doing something. So that when the party wins, if the president wins a re-election, they want to be positioned somewhere. But in all those competing factors, the economy is what is going to be at the foreplay, which is one of the reasons I joined the APC, because I thought of the policies of the president. And I must be very honest with you, even when I was appointed by the senior president as his advisor on communication and strategy, I wasn't a member of the APC. It was the president's policies that actually attracted me. You know how much I opposed and criticized Buhari up until the last minute. I never voted for the APC. And so those are the things that they expect that the Presidential Campaigns Council must put in the fore. And that is exactly the story they must tell, because Nigerians want to feel that's the macroeconomics magic that the president has done. Wants to feel it in their pockets, and when you have money in your pocket, you can reflate the economy. I think those are the discussions that should center around what the campaign council is supposed to be doing at this mature point in time. Let them hit the ground running. This distraction of who was appointed and who was not appointed, it depends on the role they're going to be given. You might be appointed, you might not play very critical roles. There are those that will not even be in the campaign council, might not have been named by the campaign council. For example, if you ask me, the spokesperson was not balanced. The South did not have anybody. The South did not have anybody. I thought somebody like Cletus Obum should have been on that list, having been in the APC for a long time. I mean, from the opposition, I used to have him against me. These are your very studio channels coming for the APC, and I'll be coming for the PDP. So there are many criticisms that will come from here and there. But in all, you just have to allow the campaign council to start, and they will start curing those defects.
Well, clearly, it looks like there's so much to unpack with you, so long as the APC is concerned. I'm looking at that list, but again, for Mr. Zach Adedeji, the concern is that he announced, the tax revenue for last month. The numbers is 27.1 trillion as the tax recorded for the month of July this year, and there's an ambitious target for the government, 40 trillion naira annually as tax revenue. So that's why when Nigerians see him on the list and then he's there as a fundraiser, that is perhaps one of the concerns. I'm not sure you've spoken to the other names Jeff asked earlier, Dr. Betta Edu and Ngozi Olejeme as well in that list, because those are also some of the concerns for many Nigerians. And then, if you look at the first page, I'm just looking at the number, those number 16, or the 16th person on the list, the secretary, Hope Uzodinma, deputy secretary, Ajibola Bashiru, assistant secretary. For someone who has served in the campaign council, not of the APC, by the way, what's the difference between deputy secretary and assistant secretary, please?
Yeah, because the assistant secretary will be deployed to some other areas of service. The campaign council, you remember that we're dealing with 36 states. I just gave you an example of what we had to do when we had to go all the way. I've never been to Sokoto. That was the only time I went to Sokoto, and I've not been to Sokoto since after then. So there's so many areas that the campaign will have to cover, because if you're looking at it, there's going to be a situation room. People are not going to sit in a situation room and be drinking coffee and be speaking King's English. Such times, we're not allowed such luxuries. And this campaign council is one that did not have to go through anything in primaries. The president was returned unopposed. In our own case, we had to go through primaries. I remember I was the agent of Jonathan for Delta State. I remember what my DG told me then, even as we're fighting Atiku Abubakar on the war of zoning and all that. So there's a lot you will not understand if you're not in a campaign council. So I don't think those positions they have put is even enough. They need to corrupt more people. But you see, it's just the beauty of the fact that you have been named as a member of the campaign council. On better I do and Olujime, they have not been found guilty by any court of law. They've not been, convicted. Let's at least just allow them, they have also suffered a lot of backlash for whatever they have been seen to or perceived to have done, but no court of competence jurisdiction has found these two women guilty. And the president must have also had his reasons for saying, look, I want to work with those women. Olujime is from my state, and incidentally is from the same senatorial district as me. So I would not want to denigrate her on national television. I would want to denigrate Petaidu, who has been a woman leader of the same APC while we were in the opposition. And we could see how you alluded to that at your opening remarks. What I can say is that maybe, eventually the reports that investigated her will be released and they can put it to rest once and for all, especially with the way the pressure is coming anytime her name comes up. So the president, I'm sure, is not insensitive to most of these pressures that are coming from, especially you people, the fourth estate of the realm. You've been on this. And so exactly what I think is a little bit of break should be given in that sense. I refrained from speaking about it because I didn't want to speak about it initially, but you ambushed me again.
Mr. Okolobo, we're not running a cause, we're running a country, constitutional democracy. We're running systems that are run by law. This lady was suspended by the president over corruption allegation. She was handed over to the EFCC. Till now, we have not seen anything from the EFCC. Is she guilty? We do not know. Is she not guilty? We do not know. All of a sudden, we're seeing her all over the place. I think the moral optics is very bad, and it's totally irresponsible for the government and for her to allow herself to be, but it's her choice. But I'm just saying, so for instance, she comes to me, let's simulate a situation. If she comes to me and say, come and vote for my party, I'll use her as a test case about questions about the management of our party in terms of public perception of issues around corruption and the rest of that, using her as an example. So it's not good. However I want to look at it, it's not a family affair. It's a country we're running, and it has to be run properly. But besides that, there's something I must not forget to ask you, Mr. Okolobo. Strategy is what you've raised, and I want to dwell on. What do you think when these people were appointed? What do you think is the big picture? I know you may not want to reveal your strategy as a party, but what do you think is the big picture of the APC? And what could be the Achilles heel they may not be looking at? Because they just got bloodied, just got a terrible beating in Oshun. So that's a clear example that the avalanche may not necessarily turn out to be anything if they're not careful. In fact, they should be more worried about disgruntled elements in the APC than those who have even left.
In fact, so this your question was exactly what somebody asked me here in the UK. He ran into me. He said, "Oh, I don't understand." Then the list had not come out. He said, "I don't really understand what strategy you people are putting up in your party. I think I preferred when it was PDP." And I said, "Oh no, but I left the PDP in 2022. I didn't even leave when others were leaving. You understand?" Yes, the strategy is going to be very clear. That's why I complained about the South and the Southeast. I don't know why there were no official spokesperson. That was a lacuna. And I say as it is, no matter what. I say because we want the party to do well. Some people ask me, why do you sometimes critique some of the policies of your party? That's not because I don't believe in the president. For example, if I come back to Nigeria, one of my tasks is to ensure that my word first is delivered to Mr. President. I have been able to attract streetlights while Mr. President was in power through the NDDC, over 400 poles. I've been able to attract a brand new transformer that has just been installed, over 500 kVA. There is still a pavilion that is worth 1.6 billion that's about to be built. There are roads that used to lead to Abraka from my community, Biaruku, that I've been able to attract. So I don't see any reason why my ward, for example, would not vote overwhelmingly for the president. But you see, I'll also tell you that even in Delta, for example, it is not a tea party. I speak to my governor. There are certain things, like you said, I will not reveal. My governor has that passion to ensure that Mr. President's win. But I'll tell you openly that my governor's election is signed, sealed, and delivered. But I will not tell you that the president's own is settled and delivered. Maybe he might not want me to make such a statement. That's why he's working very hard. But my government is going to work hard 100%. But I will never tell you that because the sentiments of it all being in Delta, it's huge. And you see, my problem here is that if you look at Oyo, we got 449,000 votes. Then I was not in the APC. That was mainly delivered by Sheyi Makinde. And Atiku got about 182,000 votes. Sheyi Makinde has now come into APM, meaning that Sheyi Makinde is going to eat deep into the president's vote. If you go to Bauchi, the Bauchi government is going to eat deep into the president's vote. Then Atiku's mother is from Bauchi. I'm not going to be stupid to think that Atiku is not going to take a lot of votes in Bauchi. Those are two states that are clearly going to be problematic. Then if you look at the South and the Southeast, remember it was only Rivers State we won out of the 11 states that you have in the South and the Southeast. In some states, it's also bad that the president did not even make 10%. And so I will not beat my chest when some people come and say, oh, this governor has joined, is going to deliver 100%. That's a big lie. It's strategy that does not work. You know, I'm a strategist. So we must be able to tell ourselves that we have work to do in the South and in the Southeast. Even the Southwest, remember the president lost Osun and lost Lagos State. It was out of the 6 states, it was his home stretch that he lost. But that won't be the same now because I know he's going to win Lagos. But by what margin is what we are asking ourselves. Even in the South and in the Southeast, even the Edo states that you are talking about, we know that Edo state, look, mark my words and quote me later. I mean, this is a live program. It's getting very difficult for Governor Pemolo to deliver Tinubu with what we are seeing in Edo State if we don't go to start doing our work. The most painful aspect is the fact that I even see the National Orientation Agency Director General in this campaign. What is his business in this campaign? He should be the one leading the campaign because he's already a campaigner. They're not giving him funds apparently. Because the Nigerian NOA is the only agency that has offices in the 774 local governments of the country. And so if they're funding him, he will have no business in the campaign. He would have been telling the story. Most people are not telling the story of the president. When I say I joined the APC, I'm saying it in all sincerity. For example, there was a property I was going to buy. I watched your program yesterday, Politics Today, and I heard someone saying that the Naira is useless. And I felt the pain in my heart. I will not lie to you, I was saving in dollars. My wife warned me after a while that we should sell these dollars. I said, no, it will go up, And I'm also guilty of it. I lost close to 100 million. I eventually had to swallow my pride to go and buy a property with it. Do you understand? Because I realized that my dollar was useless. Anybody that is saving in dollar will tell you the truth that what President Tinubu is doing right now, he has not only stabilized this economy in terms of, if you say he's defending the dollar, for example, how much can one defend dollar for almost 2 years now? Or almost 1 year, 8 months? The people are not sending this message across, and this message has to go to the nitty-gritty. It's not sitting in the comfort of the campaign office and waiting to dish out instructions. You must go. You have the door-to-door like we had then in the presidential campaign council of our party. I'm happy someone like Senator Lujimi, I also saw her name. That's another person I worked with, another person that is also very thorough. You must be able to streamline these messages to reach the grassroots and tell them that this is what President Tinubu is doing. Most people do not know this. Some of them already have a mindset, you can't change it, quite all right. But by the time you are preaching this story, they will understand that this man took a risk. Because I keep saying it, that when he removed subsidy, even though President Buhari didn't have it in the budget, I dare say that I did not know how he was going to get out of that quagmire. But today, we can see light at the end of the tunnel. I always don't join anything I'm not convinced about, Geoffrey. I'm sure, Bukola, you can hold me to this because even when you're in TVC, we did fireworks. And I remember how that program trended. If I don't believe in a cause, I don't stick anything on it. I sincerely believe in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is why I joined the APC. I didn't join the APC because of anybody.
So Mr. Kolugbo, before you go, let me quickly slot this one in, and it's also very important to Nigerians. They've been commenting on it. The emergence of videos of the deployment of huge campaign buses, and they're asking where the finances of those came from and where Nigerians still have very, serious issues with funding for critical sectors. And so where did funding for that come from? And more, in addition to that, what about, groups like Renewed Hope Ambassadors, City Boy Movement? Are these groups funded from appropriation bills, either of 2026 or 2025? Because these issues also border on accountability and governance.
That's why I said there should have been an arm. I knew they will create it now. That was a lacuna. There should have been an arm for the pressure groups. These are pressure groups. They're not being funded by government. The buses you are talking about were provided by Tombolo. Topolo, you all know, has been a very rich man. You cannot, would anybody deny the fact that Topolo can afford those buses? You can't tell a man how he would spend his money. He bought those buses and he believes in the cause that he has to campaign for the president. Look at what my governor says when he says there is money and people and some governors frown at him. My governor is only being sincere that for 3 years he hasn't borrowed any money. And the fact that, okay, look at the economic summit he did recently and he tells you that he has $100 million left as a buffer. There's no states that can do that, but some states might be able to do it if they follow the track record of my governor. No wonder he was made the director of finance and the treasurer of the campaign. Nobody will want to use government money. What I'm saying is that Nigerians should put their ear down now and watch and see. If government money is used, there are ways you can also raise an alarm. But that's not to say that patronage does not come from those who you are in government because you want to have patronage, but no patronage that is corrupt.
You know, the only answer to whether like the opposition now, they'll be struggling to raise funds. The government will not struggle to raise funds. That's why it's clear to say, it's almost undeniable to say, people in government use government money to fund. If APC loses election, they'll start struggling to fund campaigns. So I don't want to go into that. That's INEC's job. So since INEC is inefficient in terms of monitoring finances, I will not do their work for them. Mine is to raise alarm. But Mr. Kologbo, thank you. I always like to talk to you because you're very sincere with your approach as far as the APC is concerned.
You brought me out, even for the questions I didn't want to ask.
Right. That's why I brought you out. When we come back again, another conversation, we're going to do proper mapping of all these things and the numbers. Today is just to look at the campaign council. But thank you. Kenny Kologbo is a public affairs analyst, a member of the APC, a believer of President Tinubu, and we're going to question everything at the right time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Bukola?
Yes, from there are more questions to ask as far as policy is concerned. And let's go straight now to our Abuja studio where Mr. Kola Ologbondiyan, former spokesperson of the PDP, now ADC chieftain, joins us virtually to talk to us about the opposition politics. Specifically, we're zeroing in on the candidate of the party's decision, or if you like, policy intervention to return to subsidized production, according to that document, if he is elected into office in 2027. Mr. Ologbondiyan, good morning, sir, and welcome to the program. It appears as if I already got you talking.
Good morning, Bukola. Good morning, Geoffrey. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yeah, it appears as if I already got you talking. I want you to begin from, that conversation where a very key member of the private sector is saying, no, it's not the best way to return us to the dark days of subsidy where there was no accountability because of the progress that this administration has now been able to record in firming of public financing, in increased allocation to the states, the subnationals, and of course in getting us a bit further ahead in the international community as well as far as letters of credit are concerned. I'd like you to respond to that.
Bukola, thank you very much, and once again, good morning. Good morning. Like you said, let me start on a very clean note. And that clean note is that nobody is returning Nigeria to the old system, to the opaque system. Nobody is contemplating that. Not the least, even the presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress and former Vice President of Nigeria, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Nobody. What we are talking about, and I personally have always told the Tinubu administration to do a review of its subsidy regime on either May 30th or May 31st with Maupe on this very platform. I did declare that the removal, the abrupt removal of subsidy and the wholesome removal of subsidy will hurt Nigerians, but will hurt the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu more. So what is Atiku talking about? Atiku is saying that if we look at the cost of production from producing to the end users, there must be areas that are reviewable, that can be reviewed in the hope of reducing the cost of production in a manner that the end users will get to buy their products at a lesser price compared to what Nigerians, the strangulating situations that Nigerians are passing through currently. These are the issues There's nobody, all these political arguments of, oh, they want to take you back to those times where they were doing corruption, where they were doing that. Okay, so now, what is happening now? All the things, all the issues that were subsequently raised after the abrupt removal of the subsidy, have they been able to fulfill them? That's the question. They haven't. Because the situation has cost Nigerians heavily and brought nearly everybody to their knees. And I said it last week. So why are we saying that, oh, the situation is static, it's not reviewable? So that is where Article's program differ from what they are saying. I do not think that they even have the patience to study what the man has said, what he's proposing. They haven't had the patience to do that. We are buying fuel for about 200 naira or lesser before May 29, 2023. Today, we are buying fuel for 1,300 and something or 200 and something. I'm not good in mathematics, but those who are good in mathematics have done the analysis of it, and they have told us the percentage increase that we can find. And this is taking a toll on Nigerians. So, and I also find it laughable that somebody will say that, oh, Article said this 2023, now he's changed his position. And what did they take Nigerians for? Didn't the camp of the president, before they came into office, didn't they campaign against subsidy removal? Didn't he come to government and say on account of reforms that he's removing the subsidy? So I do not understand where they are coming from. Neither do I understand what they are saying. I think what is pertinent, Buki, is that let us look into the issues. Let us explore the issues and come up, whether government or the opposition that seeks to come to government, find a way to make life bearable for the ordinary folk out there. That is our concern. And mind you, ADC has consistently said that the focus of the party and its campaign is to make the cities, to bring the citizen the center of its campaign. How can life be better for the ordinary citizen? So, and in doing that, we will explore all the programs, all the policies that this government has done for 3 years. And we will come out and say, look, this is wrong, we will do it this way. That is wrong, we will do it that way. And nobody will have the capacity, nobody will have the strength to stop us from examining what is happening now and finding a better way for Nigerians.
Mr. Lobodion, well, serious ignorance of governance and the economy, those were the exact words of Mr. President responding to your presidential candidate. I wonder what you make of his thoughts, but I mean, let's try and see if we can just sort of play the devil's advocate here. The president argued that 27 states were unable to pay salaries. In fact, they were borrowing to pay salaries. And what we hear now is that these governors now have monies to pay salaries. They have even more than enough. So is it that you're not buying into what the government is doing? Because the governors seem to be really very happy. They're smiling to the banks. They have more monies right now under their coffers to play around with.
Thank you very much. You and I are Nigerians, and there are millions of Nigerians out there who will not listen to what the president is advancing. And the reason is simple. Even drawing from the president's assertions in the past, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came on air nationally and said governors, because they have money, they are now building flyovers where there are no traffic. I don't think that is a commendation. I don't see that as a commendation. I see that as a man who has too much of money and is now wasting it, rather than spend it on the interest and the wishes and the desires of the ordinary Nigerians out there. So if Mr. President can turn around and say that, oh, the money we are giving to these governors, they are not effectively used, is that not an admittance of guilt? because he's the one that makes the money available. But now let's go further. In order to ensure that money were effectively used, the president came up with a policy direction that said that local governments must have their money directly and they must spend the money judiciously. I don't know, but I know that the channels have the capacity to send reporters to go around the 774 local governments, because we are represented in every state, to go and find out whether the money that they are talking about are being effectively and judiciously used in the interest of the ordinary folks. The answer is no. So you are saying that you are operating a policy in which more money has come into the coffers of government. Under macroeconomics, Geoffrey will understand that because he's an economist, I'm not. That you don't have more money given to government. But the other people are saying that they are not seeing the money, it's not reflecting. In their own system, where is the money? They can't find it. Oh, you say, oh, you even gave more money to the states? Oh, where are the projects? Oh, you say, even you yourself, you took this sum for federal government. And Nigerians are asking the question, where is the direction of this money? So if you say that, sorry please, if you say that you have brought a policy that has brought more money, we say, okay, good. But we say this money is supposed to be spent on our health system. We say this money is supposed to be spent constructing roads. I was in Lokoja yesterday. It is hell to drive between Lokoja and Abuja. Hell. And they are saying that, oh, we are building roads. And I said, me, I'm from Kogi. Where's the impact of your road? Where I come from. Even on the federal roads, I'm not even talking about state roads. Where is the impact? So people are dying because they cannot afford their medicals. Rising costs to survive a day in Nigeria. Whether in terms of transportation, whether in terms of food. People are losing lives because they cannot buy medications. And you say, oh, you have brought much money. Oh, please, where is the money? These are those who are spending the money on. Oh, you say we are protecting the oil rigs, we are protecting oil production, you are spending like trillions of naira, and we'll ask the question, what is the job of our military officers whose basic responsibility is to protect our sovereignty?
I'll listen to a lady yesterday. I was doing an analysis of Singapore, comparing it to African countries. And there's something she said I wrote down. She said, resources are not the foundation of greatness. Decisions are. So we are in the battle of decision. The government has clearly reeled out what the gains are, but they are all on the macroeconomics end. And there's no denying that. There's also the downside of that decision of government, the twin policy of floating the naira and removing fuel subsidy. High level of poverty, high level of working poor, inequality, underemployment, those are also facts. So it looks like the economy shows that there are two facts that are true at the same time, both on the macro and the micro end. So we're looking for who can bridge this. Now, the first question I'll ask in terms of the article proposal is, do we have the production capacity? Are we producing enough to be able to subsidize in the first place?
Thank you very much. I think the basic thing, like I've even called your name out. I've called you out that, oh, you are the economics, you are the one that will do the analysis. But I think the basic thing is that the current trajectory has not helped the common man. To buy 5 liters of fuel at 1,300 or 1,270 or 1,320, you need more than 5,000 naira to buy 5 liters. I am saying that the ordinary man out there who rides a motorbike, a motorcycle, that he cannot afford that. And that the government, and this is personal to me, that since May 29, 2023, I have canvassed the need to review this policy. Till today, even when the president was marking his second term in office, I said it on this same platform that, look, if we were to have a midterm election, on the basis of what is happening in our nation today, the president cannot win a re-election. If you have a midterm election. I said it. And I said all these borders on the policy that have thrown Nigerians into the field without any process of shock absorber, without any process of palliatives. But you came as president, you are putting hands in our various pockets, taking our money and giving it to governors. And when we say that, look, the governors are not doing anything, we say we should go and ask them, please, where are we going to find the governors? Where is the accessibility to find the governors? And our position is very clear. There is nothing static. You are talking about, can we produce enough? Can we have enough production? Do we have enough refineries? If we do not review the policy, how do we know where we are to stand, where we are to begin from, what we are to do? We need a review of the policy. And I'm not saying this because I subscribe to the same political party with former vice president and the presidential candidate of ADC. But I know it that in his own calculation, in his own agenda, in his own program, he has come out and said, look, if we review this policy, life will be better for Nigerians. Okay, you now come out and tell us and say that no, we should not make life better for Nigerians. Because that's what they are saying indirectly. But they have not summoned the courage to come out openly and say that no, we will not make life better for Nigerians. Because that's where the issues are. Article say that look, if we review the production system as it's done in Malaysia and Indonesia, if we can review that system, then we have a possibility of bringing down the cost of fuel to the advantage of the ordinary folks who are out there. You are saying no, we must remain on this point. It's economic policy, it's reforms. And I always ask myself, these reforms, are they not supposed to better my life and better the lives of the ordinary people? If I cannot be bettered in the reforms, what is stopping government from saying, okay, let us look at it from another perspective? We are saying that we are making a lot of money, yet borrowing has not stopped, yet the contractors which government gave jobs to do they cannot be paid, yet we have not reflected the economy, yet things are going bad, from bad to worse, and we are saying that, oh, just have hope.
Yes. So,
just have hope.
Yes.
Majority of Nigerians are either Christians or Muslims.
Yeah.
They have been told to have hope that life after now will be better. We don't want to wait till that life after now. The one that we are seeing here, we are saying the government that is running our lives should make it better for us. That's very imperative. That's very important, and that is desirable. So you don't just sit anywhere and dismiss Article's plan. No, let us examine it. Let Nigerians speak to him. Let them examine it too.
Yes.
If you have a better option, come up with it.
Mr. Lagwadi,
say, okay, we'll go to this first 4 years. We agree that yes, we made money. Yes, we gave the money to the wrong hands, if you believe so. But it has not impacted the way it's supposed to impact.
Mr. Lagwadi,
so we'll go in this
very
direction. You are not bringing anything.
Yes.
You say we should just agree.
We are absolutely pressed for time. But just before we let you go, so how does your presidential candidate intends to hold the governors to account? Because it looks like that is one of the places where we have the biggest problems, where the governors have monies. In fact, the president has asked Nigerians to hold their governors to account. But how does your own presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, intend to hold these governors to account?
No, rather than follow that policy, Atiku in his plan has come out to say that let us review the production system in a manner that it will bring down the costs. So when we bring down the costs, you understand, whatever is left, distribution begins from there. But what's important is that what Nigerians are passing through, as you and I are speaking, and we are both Nigerians, and I know that you live in Lagos, and I know the cost of fueling your car per day. I know it's unbearable. You can't come out and say it. Me, I can come out and say the truth. You understand? It's unbearable. Just as it is with you, so it is with me. So it is with the majority of Nigerians who are watching us this morning. We are saying that government should do a review. And if it cannot do a review, it should allow another party who say its candidate is prepared to do a review. It's after we have done that review and we see what is coming on that we begin to say that, okay, this is the distribution pattern. But you cannot be distributing money and saying that we, the ordinary folks who have no access to government house, that we should go and meet governors and ask them how they are spending money. It's your responsibility, sir, to direct the people to spend money judiciously, to make sure that life is comfortable for Nigerians. And I've heard often, they say, why are they calling the president's name? They have local government chairman, they have a state governor. They will call the president's name because the president is the one who is in charge of the distribution of that fund. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Lobodinho, my colleague's question, Kelly, is very important because at this point I want to remind you that some of those governors in a handful of about 33 or 34 or a little more that the APC now boasts of were actually governors under your own former political party, the PDP. So why should we trust you when you say that, if we should go to those states, we'll see that they are not actually wetting the ground. So it appears as if some former politicians have only just changed their garment into an APC garment. Don't answer that one. Umar, thank you very much for coming on the program. Mr. Kola Olobodinho, of the African Democratic Congress.
Why will I not answer?
We absolutely present time.
We'll invite you again. We'll invite you
Oh, you
again.
know the truth now. You all know the truth. Every Nigerian knows the truth. So there's nothing to say.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
There are a few more places to touch as we wrap up the program. What are you saying about some of the big stories? We'll start with this one. Airport travelers clap, cheer for Nigerian soldiers as they walk through the terminal area after returning from a mission, thanking them for their service. And this is very heartwarming because every opportunity we have, we must show appreciation to the men who risk their lives to ensure that you and I are safe.
Really interesting to see. Wow.
Moral booster. So we commend everyone who took the initiative. If I was there, I would have actually just stood up to say thank you for your service. I hosted the dialogue on national security some time ago, and one of the things I did say, nobody picks up a gun and say I want to die for my country because he loves money. It's a sacrifice that we can never reward them for.
Absolutely.
Nobody can pay anybody for what they did, especially these ones on the front line. So we join the clappers to clap for you, say thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you for your service.
Well done for service.
Well, I have the next one.
Kelly, you have the next one.
Let's say this one's, I like this. States of highway in the country, severe gridlock leaves motorists stranded for days in Benin Edo Expressway. Oh my word. Also reports show the car sinking.
Kelly, I had to listen to, you say you like this one. Where should you like this kind of station?
Well, no, I love the fact that someone brought this to the fore. That's the intent, please. It's the fact that someone brought this out there for us to see just how dire the roads are. We hear the Benin Edo Expressway. And I think this is the second time we're seeing.
It's a federal road, right?
It's a federal road. We hear this is the second time we've seen videos like this, or third, being flooded. There's one that the car, that's a car there, and we see two Nigerians trying to see how they could rescue the person whose vehicle has been submerged and
I think it's basically to call the attention of the Honorable Minister for Works. He has his hands full, but this governor says he wants to give the president 2.5 million votes, and I say he cannot. It's not possible. It will not happen.
Jeffrey, I'd like to bring us back to the account of stewardship, the presentation of the scorecard by the Minister of Finance. In that report, he told us that 6.5 trillion was spent on infrastructure,
strategic infrastructure.
Yes. If the Benin Road is not strategic, then I don't know what else is strategic.
So if you want to get those votes.
Moments ago, Mr. Olobode pointed to the deplorable state of the Lokoja-Abuja highway. And so we're calling the attention of the Minister of Works to this particular road.
Well, sadly, veteran Nollywood actor and filmmaker Taiwo Hassan, popularly known as Ogogo, has also died. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. That's the show, everyone. We're back again tomorrow. Thanks indeed for watching. I am Kelly Egiga.
Well, we commiserate with the family of the Taiwo, and we urge Nigerians to be, more compassionate and graceful in their reactions to how the family chooses to mourn. It is a challenging time for the Hassan family, and so we must respect that. May his gentle soul rest in peace. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
Our thoughts are with the families. Thank you so much for your time and company, and by the grace of God, we'll do this again. Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Zong.